There's one floor plan shape that shows up in almost every backyard build I researched this year, and almost nobody explains why it works. It is not the rectangle. It is not the A-frame. It is the L. And in 2026, for under $45,000, an L-shaped expandable modular home can give you more privacy, more light, and more usable square footage than a straight box twice its price. Today, I am breaking down the best L-shaped expandable modular floor plans you can actually buy right now, what they really cost once you add the stuff nobody puts in the headline price, and the one design flaw that ruins this shape if you get it wrong. Before we get into it, if you're new here, this channel breaks down tiny and alternative housing with real numbers, not sponsor hype. So hit subscribe now so you do not miss the cost breakdowns coming later in this video. And stick around, because near the end, I'm going to show you the specific L-shaped layout that construction data says is the best value per square foot of anything on this list, and it is not the one most videos recommend. Picture a straight rectangle sitting in a backyard. One door, one long hallway feeling, and every window facing the same two directions. Now, bend that rectangle once, 90 degrees, and something changes immediately. You get two wings instead of one box. One wing can hold the bedroom and bathroom, the other holds the kitchen and living space, and the inside corner becomes a natural hinge between private and public zones. No hallway required to separate sleeping from living, because the geometry does that job for you. The L shape also opens up window placement most rectangles cannot touch. Instead of light hitting only two walls, an L-shaped home can catch morning sun on one wing and afternoon shade on the other, which matters more than people think when you're heating and cooling a space under 500 square feet. And there is the curb appeal factor. Zoning boards and neighbors tend to respond better to a shape with two roof lines and some articulation than they do to a flat box, because it reads as a house instead of shed. Drone shots slowly rotating around an L-shaped tiny home showing both wings and the inside corner courtyard. But none of that comes free, and that is where most budget videos stop talking, right before the part that actually affects your wallet. Here is the number you need before you fall in love with any L-shaped plan. Independent building cost analysis on ADU construction found that an L-shaped unit typically runs 5 to 10% more per square foot than a rectangle of the exact same floor area. Same interior space, more money. Why? The L shape needs more linear feet of foundation, more exterior wall, more siding, and more insulation to enclose the identical amount of floor space, because you're wrapping material around two extra corners instead of four straight sides. Add a pitched roof with a valley where the two wings meet, and you're paying for extra flashing in a spot that is genuinely more prone to leaks if it is not detailed correctly. That valley is also where wind loads and snow drifts concentrate, since two roof lines are funneling weather into a single seam instead of shedding it off four flat sides. So if you are building anywhere with real snow load, ask your builder about reinforced framing at that intersection. That does not mean skip the L shape. It means budget for it honestly. If a straight rectangle version of a home would cost you $40,000, expect the L-shaped version of the same square footage to land closer to $42,000 to $44,000 once materials and labor account for that extra geometry. This is exactly why every plan on this list today is chosen, because it stays under $45,000 even after that L-shaped premium, not despite it. One more tip before we move on. If you want the privacy benefits of an L shape without paying for a valley roof, ask your builder about a flat roof or two separate shed roofs over each wing instead of one continuous pitched roof. It eliminates the valley entirely, along with its extra labor and leak risk, and it gives the home a cleaner, more modern look that a lot of builders in wetter climates are shifting toward anyway. Let us start with the most affordable category, expandable steel frame kits. These are foldable modular units, meaning the walls fold flat for shipping and then unfold and lock into place on site, which is a big reason the price stays low since you're cutting out a huge chunk of the labor cost. One expandable model in this category folds down to a compact shipping footprint, but once opened, expands to 13 by 20 feet giving you roughly 260 square feet of usable living space for around $23,900 before site work. That puts it firmly in starter ADU or backyard studio territory. A larger version of the same steel frame family expands to 19 by 20 feet and specifically includes an L-shaped cabinet configuration built into the layout, using the inside corner for storage and counter space instead of wasting it. That model comes in around $27,200, still comfortably under our $45,000 ceiling, and you are getting almost 380 square feet of expandable footprint. A quick word of caution on this whole category. Foldable steel frame homes usually arrive somewhere between 70 and 90% complete. You're typically finishing insulation upgrades, plumbing hookups, and electrical yourself, or hiring that out separately. So the sticker price is not the full move in price. Budget an extra several $1,000s for finishing work, depending on your local labor rates, and how much of it you can do yourself. If steel frame kits feel like too much DIY, there is a second category worth knowing about: fully modular ADUs built to a finished standard and shipped closer to move-in ready. These cost more, but they close the gap between what you see in the price tag and what you actually get to live in on day one. One 360 square foot modular backyard house in this category is built as a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom unit and prices right at $49,999. That technically sits just above our $45,000 target, but I am including it because it shows you exactly where the ceiling is for a finished, code-compliant, 2-bedroom modular unit right now in 2026, and it gives you a real number to negotiate against if a builder quotes you higher for something smaller. For comparison, permitted L-shaped ADU floor plans designed by architecture firms in the 500 to 750 square foot range with 1 or 2 bedrooms commonly land in a similar cost bracket once you factor in foundation work, permitting, and utility hookups, even before the L-shaped premium we talked about earlier. So if your goal is a finished, permitted, 2-bedroom L-shaped ADU, $45,000 is realistically the floor, not a comfortable ceiling, unless you're doing significant sweat equity yourself. Here is the part that catches people off guard. Even after you pay for the modular unit itself, connecting it to water, sewer, and a 200 amp electrical panel, plus pouring a slab or setting piers for the foundation, typically adds another $8,000 to $18,000 on top, regardless of how affordable the unit itself was. That range swings hard depending on how far your utilities have to run and what your local permitting office requires. So get a site evaluation before you fall in love with the price tag. This is the part that made me actually want to build one of these instead of just researching them. The inside corner of an L-shaped home creates a natural courtyard. Some builders and homeowners fence or landscape that inside angle into a private outdoor room, essentially adding a usable outdoor square footage to a home that only has an indoor footprint on paper. A trellis over that space turns it into a shaded patio that extends your living area outside without adding a single permitted square foot to your build. For 2 adults sharing a tiny home, or a couple with 1 child, that inside corner also solves the single biggest complaint people have about small home living, which is acoustic and visual privacy. Put the bedroom wing at one end and the living and kitchen wing at the other, and the 90-degree bend acts as a sound buffer that a straight open floor plan simply cannot replicate in the same square footage. Housing market data backs up why this matters right now. The tiny home market is projected to grow from about $13.17 billion in 2025 to roughly $14 billion in 2026. And a big driver of that growth is exactly this kind of layout innovation. Homes that separate zones without adding a hallway or wasted square footage. Here is the thing almost nobody tells you before you commit to an L-shaped build, and it is the reveal I promised you at the top of this video. The single biggest mistake people make with an L-shaped home is orienting the courtyard corner toward the street or toward a neighbor's window instead of toward their own private yard. Do that, and you lose the entire privacy benefit the shape was supposed to give you in the first place, while still paying the 5 to 10% structural premium for the extra corners and roof valley. You end up with all of the cost and none of the payoff. The fixed costs nothing extra. When you're sketching your site plan, rotate the L so the open corner faces your own fence line or the deepest part of your property, never the road, never a shared property line. That single decision is the difference between a home that feels twice its size and one that feels exposed every time you step outside. If you're working with a modular company on any of the plans I mentioned today, ask them directly whether the floor plan can be mirrored or rotated to fit your specific lot. Most steel frame and modular manufacturers can flip the layout at no additional cost, but only if you ask before the order is placed, not after it ships. So to recap, expandable steel frame L-shaped kits start around $18,000 to $27,000 depending on size. Fully finished modular L-shaped ADUs sit closer to the $45,000 to $50,000 range, and the shape itself carries a 5 to 10% cost premium that is absolutely worth it if you orient that inside corner correctly. Get the orientation wrong, and you're paying extra for nothing. If this saved you from making an expensive layout mistake, do me a favor and hit subscribe because I've got a full breakdown coming on U-shaped and courtyard floor plans next, comparing them directly against everything you just saw today. Drop a comment and tell me which L-shaped model on this list you would actually build, and I will see you in the next one.